Everybody, everybody's having a fantastic whatever day it is that you're watching this. Hoping that it finds you well. Get this thing plugged in so it doesn't die. So, fellas, with 2K, Texas 2K is what we're talking about. If you're not familiar with the event, it is a roll race extravaganza with all the fastest street cars lining up to compete with each other in either roll racing or drag racing. There's a bunch of different classes, namely race car, heavier race car, and the rest. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's really neat about Texas 2K. And if you're into GTRs and Supras and Coyote Mustangs peppered in there with boosted applications and nitrous galore, it's actually a really cool thing to watch. These guys spent countless hours making these contraptions scream down the quarter mile, and they're dangerous as hell, especially when you consider the fact that just to be remotely competitive in that field, you've got to have well into 1,500 horsepower to the rear wheels. So definitely some cool stuff to check out. But don't give a fuck about it, because here's the thing. I don't have a dog in that hunt. My thing was, where were the Mopars? This would have been a fantastic event if somebody would have shown up with just a tricked out Hurricane 6 Challenger with boosts and on top of boosts and nitrosuses and all of that. But anyway, that would have been pretty sweet to see, but we didn't get that. So have a Pepsi. Always looking for sponsors. Anyway, the fact of the matter is you had a pretty cool opportunity to see some of the absolute nastiest builds that you ever will see in public, if nothing else. Typically the cars that are reserved for 3 o'clock in the morning hits down your favorite long stretch of deserted highway for about $1,000 a pop. Now, it got me to thinking a little bit. You know, my background of all things got started in motocross. When I got old enough to drive, was more into drag racing and street racing, but roll racing was something that I was kind of big into for a while. That's back when drag strips wouldn't let you run any quicker than a 12.0 without a roll cage. If you can imagine those days. I mean, heck, pretty much everything runs in the 12s now. So, you know, anyway, here's the thing. I'm kind of at a place of annoyance with a lot of this. How much faster can faster be kind of talk. And a lot of it, when it comes to the Mopar stuff, this is where it's a little bit cringy, because if you go to 2K, it's GTR, 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 and friend. And then GTR, GTR, GTR. There's reasons for this. But these are cars with billet blocks. You'll see a Viper every once in a while show up, but I mean, seriously? Most of this stuff is just turbos stacked on top of turbos. And in that case, it does not matter how much displacement you have. A Turbo Coyote and a GTR are going to make the same amount of power once you start throwing boost at them. Power is literally just boost away, and it's whatever you can manage in terms of heat is really all you're more concerned with. Throw enough heat exchangers on anything and you can make it last, or at least survive long enough to make it through the event. So there's that. But for me, speed and going fast and all of that, I like it. But guys, here's the thing. When you've been around this stuff for so long, speed becomes extremely relative. You get around certain guys that are big into half mile and mile events, Texas 2K. The idea of going tens, if some of these cars run tens, is because they broke at the 100-foot mark. This is no kidding. This is how powerful these machines are. But for the average person with the average budget, these things are, they're cartoonish. They're superheroes, really, if you will. And I guess at some point, you've always got to be looking up. At least it's a much more comfortable position than looking down. There's a reason why there's afraid of heights, right? Well, it's because of the budget and the problems and the headaches and the sacrifices that you have to get to that level. Most people just aren't going to do that. But where do you find the fun? I mean, it's not any fun. Let me explain to you how much not fun it is. When you go to try to build cars like that, it's not, how do I put it? It is no longer enjoyable. I'm not even talking about like it's not fun. Like, yay, I get to go work on my car tonight. I get to tinker with something and it will be fun and I will drive it and it'll go and it'll make a bunch of tire smoke and will I get a ticket? Oh my goodness, Mr. Police Officer. That's not the type of mentality that these guys have. You have to understand that it is a kill or be killed mentality. They just happen to focus their aggressive competitive edge in cars, and they will stop at nothing, including debt, personal sacrifices, family sacrifices, and everything to get these cars to that level. So again, they deserve my utmost respect, but you'll never see me in or around that arena ever again. At a point in time this is back when 1,000 horsepower to the rear wheels was the thing. Like, it was the only goal that you had was to make something like that. This was, at the point of this picture, that car was about 850 to the rear wheels. And it was suitably nasty. Like disturbingly nasty. The Viper that's up on the poster back there ended up being about 960, 970. So the point is that when I was fooling around with this stuff, we didn't have advanced traction control. We didn't have anything. It was all the motor you could put into whatever platform you could find and make it go as fast as you can without wall hunting. See, what you have to remember is that the Viper, which is up there, right there, that's back before ET Street radials, ET Street Rs. We ran these monsters. Who's that good looking fella? And what's that good looking car? That's right, that is Foxy circa a long time ago. Was making about 450 to the wheel. But here's the thing, that we ran everything on bias plies. When we went street racing and roll racing, we ran our cars on ET streets and Bogart front runners, which everything that we ran were bias ply, because that's all that existed back then. And if you wanted a drag radial, it was like the BFG drag radials, or Nitto was out back then, but that was nowhere near enough tire to manage the type of stuff that we were messing with. And I'm reminded of my Z06. You know, for a long time, a lot of guys, you know, we were messing around with cars that, you know, we weren't even touching the suspension. What are you? I like freaking some race car person? This is America. This is street racing. It's got a suspension on it. It's a Viper. It's a Vet. It's a Supra. You don't need suspension. You need more power. And if you need more suspension, then what you first need is better tires. And we didn't start running stickier tires or any more sophisticated rubber until it got to the point where guys were running 100 to 150, or they were running like 100 to 200 miles per hour. That's the kind of roll racing we did back then. It was spooky and it was stupid, but that's what we were up to. So yeah, people go, 60 to 130. And it's like, 60 to 130? Our cars wouldn't hook up. We'd be smoking the tires in those things because they're all manual transmissions. Very, very few people had automatics. So when you're slamming gears and you're shocking your chassis and you're hitting the tires as hard as we were hitting them, through a manual, that's what we were up to. So I get what they're up to, and that's great. And back in my day, it was uphill both ways in the snow. Had to drive in the rain, in the snow, on slicks. because we couldn't afford good rubber. We just ran our race tires everywhere. Right? It's what everybody with gray hair says, dude. What do you expect? Everything was faster too back then, right? Anyway, talking about that, but again, I wanted to reel something in. At what point is fast enough fast enough? And again, I don't have, a lot of guys have asked me, well, do I miss the Hellcat? No, I don't miss the Hellcat. Hellcat isn't anywhere near the fastest car that I've ever owned. And that's either from a standing start, from a dig, or from a roll, especially not from a roll. So, in fact, my C5 Z06, loved my C4. My C5 Z06, I used to go sniping. What the hell? Got a freaking beard hair in my mouth. Start me out. What is that? Freaking beard hair. I'm losing hair in my face too. How the hell do you lose face hair? Like that, you ain't supposed to. I already lost all of this. How am I losing face hair? And why is it going in my mouth? Anyway, what the hell was it? Oh, so yeah, the Hellcat ain't even the fastest car. So I guess the point that I'm getting at is, do I miss it because it was so fast? Not really. And I'm not quite a size queen at all when it comes to performance. I've said this over and over and over again about motorcycles, and the fact that to have something with a whole lot of performance, speed, power, and all of that, a lot of that's wasted on me. Not because I don't have the skill set to deal with it. It's that I don't have the discipline to not go as fast as I possibly can on the thing that I'm riding. That's my own hang up with motorcycles. To me, it's just like a jet ski on land. And you're supposed to go as fast as it'll go all the time, right? Like that's the whole point of it. So that's my own mental thing. But when it comes to cars, it's a whole lot different. And what I mean by this is I have as much fun in an RT Challenger as I ever did in my Hellcat, or as I ever did in whatever red eye I had taken to the track to get a number for a customer, or whatever Demon I had taken to the track to get a number for a customer, or when I helped to set people's cars up to get them their best time at the drag strip. I have just as much fun doing that. I've been able to drive some obnoxiously fast cars in an effort to collect data, high load, high RPM conditions, which means high speed in many cases, because that's the only time you can hook up with this kind of power number in real life, in real world conditions. You're going deep after a number that is triple the speed limit in some areas, 170, 180, 190 miles an hour. So no, my Hellcat, great car, served me well, love that car. And in a perfect world, I'd still own it. But that's in the past. That's yesterday's iron. Let's talk about what could be with this new Charger. But nobody is wanting to talk about the EVs. And when I say nobody, when I mention the EV Charger, it is like bells are getting rung, the freak out meter pegs out. Nobody wants to talk about that thing. In fact, I was in the middle of a conversation with a colleague today, and we were talking about EVs. I don't have any problem with EVs whatsoever, provided that it's an EV, because that is the most convenient conveyance for you. And this guy's huge into EVs. And so I was just saying, look, I'd love to come up with a way that I can make capacitors work, bypassing the speed controller. It would be like electric nitrous. It would be a riot. All these things that you can do with electric cars. But interestingly enough, you can like EVs and understand that they have their place, but you can also appreciate and understand that the internal combustion engine, which ain't going nowhere, also has its place. But the EV, when it comes to this muscle car thing, it's having a really hard time landing. And I want to take that into a little bit different direction. Isn't it funny that at 2K, nobody showed up with a Tesla Plaid? Nobody showed up with a hot rodded Tesla Plaid. Nobody showed up with a Tesla Plaid converted contraption, at least not that I'm aware of. If I'm wrong, correct me. But there was no showing of an EV. Where's the passion? See how I tied all of that together? I was just talking about all of the passion and all of the sacrifice and everything that it takes, the money, and I'd love to have a quarter of the money, a fifth of the money that I've spent on cars and learning how to make them go fast. And all of the sacrifice, you know where I'm going with that? But nobody shows up with an EV. Nobody shows up. Nobody is passionate about it. And that's where EVs have got a lot of ground to cover, because you don't see guys, these cottage industry type guys, putting together a car that is specific to the task of hauling ass. The way that you see the guys with the GTRs, the Supras, the Coyotes. You get into the heavyweight, the porkers, like all the Mopars, the CTSVs, and whatever else is in that class. You don't see that coming from EVs. And this is really more to the point. This is what I told the guy. I said, look, because you don't see that, you don't see the grassroots engineering going into these cars, you're never going to get a following for it. The whole point of hot rodding is that it brings like-minded people together. These are guys that, you know, they're either competitive, they're nerds, they're competitive nerds, they're just geeky guys. They're guys that want to, they're engineering type minded people. The hell was that? Anyway, you can see where I'm going with that. That's the mentality that's behind a lot of this. But they're car guys no matter what. And you just don't see that with the EV crowd. And that to me is damning, because it shows the complete and total lack of heart, or as many folks would say, the lack of soul that the EVs have. So if there's anybody out there that is ever going to listen to this live show that is into EVs and into making EVs just haul ass and nasty fast, show up at 2K with whatever kind of discombobulated contraption you've got. Get out there and put together a good showing so that the people that want to be into that type of car can have something to root for. But it's going to be a long uphill walk, because so many Tesla Plaid owners have been trolling Hellcats and Camaros and Mustangs leading up to this. There's just not a whole lot of goodwill. I have a feeling that any EV that got trotted out there would just basically be gun fodder for GTRs and, you know, Coyote Mustangs. So anyway, there's my little diatribe on that. But I want to hear from you guys. At what point is fast enough? So with all my background in driving all kinds of stupid fast and just fun stuff, I've learned that fun is far more enjoyable than fast. And what I've always kind of gravitated towards is whatever platform that I have being the absolute best at whatever that platform is. And whatever best means. Best is subjective. So, you know, we accomplished that with the SRT. We accomplished that with the Hellcat. And nobody's going out trying to chase those numbers, by the way. So, you know, especially not the Hellcat stuff, not anymore anyway. So where does that leave us? Well, I've got the truck now. And I got to tell you, this is no kidding, I'm having more fun with a crew cab four-wheel drive Ford F-150 stock gears, stock tune than I ever had with some of the cars that I've had. And it's just because this thing's got a lot of personality. It's with the exhaust and now the new cold air intake. It's got a lot of cool noises that it makes. And it just does a lot of cool stuff. And I got to tell you, it's a new kind of fun to have. And you might say, well, it's not fast. It's not fast like the Hellcat. Doesn't have to be. And sometimes more is not better. Too much of a good thing can kill you, and too much of a thing that you need or you feel like you need can also have the same effect. So it's all about dosages. And I enjoy everything. And I've never found myself to be the type of guy that says, man, it's a cool contraption, but I just need more. Well, I say that, but everything that I own, I've tuned or have been on a dyno or I've fiddled with or I've fussed over. We'll just say it goes back to maximizing efficiency. How about that? At the risk of sounding like a damn hypocrite. But I always try to make whatever I have the best version of itself that it can be without, scrambling internals and doing things that are just not in the same spirit as the whatever kind of car, vehicle, whatever it is that I'm working on, bike, truck, whatever. I try to keep it within kind of a certain context and not try to drag stupidity into a very pleasant conversation when I'm talking about like the truck. What am I going to do with the truck or the cars or things like that I've worked on? So anyway, let me check in with you, friends. See what y'all are up to. Rome is first in. Yo, B, what's up, Rome? My man, Marco is in. High five. Robo, what's up, Brian? I'm GTR'd out. I get it. Itch is in. Good day. Good day, sir. Lime is in. Zero, long time no see. What are your thoughts on Flex Fuel Kit for Scat Pack? Listen, if you can find me one that works the way that there's two different ways you can make it work the right way. All right. What am I, Wu-Tang? What the hell am I doing with my hands over here? There's two ways you can make it work properly. One is with the sensor, which is better and not as good. I don't want to dive into the pros and cons of both, but you have sensed and then you have inferred. Now, a true inferred system relies on wideband O2s and the computer measuring injector duty cycle to achieve lambda, which is to say a stoichiometric value, all gases are burned. That's the way Ford does it. Ford goes, it is an inferred lambda. I'm sorry, it is an inferred ethanol content based on injector duty cycle to achieve specific lambda. How's that for a mouthful? Whereas GM is sensed. So, either way is good. It just, whichever way you have found to make it work, and it does work, 2 thumbs up. I like it, but there's a twist. I can like it all day long. I just don't feel like it's applicable in your application because you're really not going to pick up any power. Not with a stock cam, not at the stock RPM. And I've done power sweeps with a 392 trying to find power on good E85. In fact, used to have them over here. It was Quick Brick's car. I had that car on the dyno for the better part of a week. And I made power sweeps in that car with 93 octane, with E85, and with a mix. And the mix was not what you think. It wasn't like 40%. It was like, we tried to calculate it to where it was the worst case scenario for the E85. It was like E65 because the MEA specification, here's something if you didn't know it, E85 is not E85. It is E70 through E90. That is the specification, and that's the range that E85 you can find. So the idea was to kind of have it be a tank where it was not quite that great, but still kind of within the specification. So you leave a few gallons in the tank and then fill it all the way up with E85. That was kind of the idea. Anyway, I did power sweeps, and with E85 and really even with E60, E55, whatever. And again, you got to keep in mind, this thing was on the dyno for a week and we just kept putting gasoline in the thing in essence. And it was originally a 93 octane cam car. We switched it over to E85 and just went hunting for power. That car, I could take and I could go all the way past MBT timing, which is maximum brake torque timing, which is to say, I could not add any more timing to it because it started to lose power. You can overtime something. And if you've got enough octane, it won't ping. It just won't. It will just kind of move past MBT. So it moved past whatever maximum power that you can make. And then it starts to lose power. And you'll see the power start to, it'll sometimes it even looks like stair steps. It'll go on its way down. And you figure out, and of course, this is not an extreme. We're not going like 10 degrees past MBT. You'd find yourself reaching a power number. You add 2 degrees and it wouldn't go anywhere. You add another couple of degrees and it'd maybe start to fall off. Sometimes you add a couple of more degrees and it would find itself ticking back up. Didn't never happen. It went past MBT and just kept cratering. So we found that the stock timing values were basically where you were going to want to be. And about the most I could get, well, myself, Alex, I think we had somebody else messing with that car too. But was for it does build torque down low. Where it does work is down low. But once you start getting higher in the RPM, the problem is that the Hemi has fuel rail injection. It doesn't have direct injection. That's a key point here. And the more E85 you are going to throw at that engine, the more oxygen you displace because the tube is finite size. In other words, the intake runner is finite. To get any more air in there, you either need a supercharger. It's why it works great with forced air induction. But where it doesn't do well is in naturally aspirated cars with rail injection. So you get to a certain point and the benefits are outweighed by the fact that you're displacing oxygen. So, but we're able to pick up, I think it was 12 or 14, maybe 14 foot-pounds of torque right at the hit. And then that gain would start to diminish the higher up in the RPM you went. So if that is worth it to you, I mean, I say let her rip. David is in. Got the bald guy with the shades. Hemi Challenger, what's up, B? Marco's talking about moving down south from Canada. Come on down. Weather's nice. Rome said I picked up a 2-door hardtop 65 Galaxy for a steal this weekend, 58 hundo. Nice. Thing is almost perfect. It has a 351 Windsor swap in it. Any advice on the 351 Windsor and bringing it up to date? Yeah. How much advice would you like? It depends on what you want to do with it, but AFR 165 heads, Performer RPM air gap, Demon 650 or Demon 750 carburetor, a camshaft that is this will sound familiar, 222 on the intake side, 226, 228 on the exhaust side, intake center line of 109, low separation angle of 110. Max lift is going to be right at, say, 5 1/4. And that would be a fun little car. A fun little engine. That would be what I would do if I was building another Windsor. And then whatever headers fit, it doesn't matter at that point. But yeah, that's Comp Gold. I even have a set. I've got, wait, are they 1.6s or 1.7s? Hang on a second. These are cranes. What the hell do I still have in my Windsor? Oh, these are the stock. Yeah, these are the B351s. So if you're going with a more aggressive cam, you would have these suckers came off of that white car, as a matter of fact. Yeah, set of 160s. How's that for a blast from the past? That cam ended up getting an Anderson B4 cam. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know why I was running those. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I would do. Sovereign is in. What's up? Skids, what's up, man? X is saying, let's chat about how the EV Scat Pack weighs 5,800 pounds, won't have the 670 horse stage kit included after 2024, has a top speed of 138 and is already slower than all of its competition. Dead on arrival. I'm afraid you might be right. Himmy saying, my 74 Duster had bias plies on it when I bought it. You better believe it. I remember as a kid, steel belted radial. How about this one? Radial tuned suspension. Can anybody tell me radial tuned suspension and its origin? Do you remember? Stuart is in. Yo. Vincent, do you think the Scat Pack Challenger is an impressive car? It is an interesting car. Yeah, it's impressive. It's a great car. Vincent, how many speeding tickets have you had, and when was the last time you got a ticket? I literally just got a ticket. I haven't had one in a while leading up to that, but I did just recently get a ticket. Got a ticket in Stormy. And if that cop, so the cop, God bless, dude. So I was out minding my own business, breaking every conceivable law that you can, I think, on the street. No, but in all seriousness, I was making hits. And I had gone out, it's really good air. And I had made a tune adjustment on Stormy, and I was taking it out to, I'd already taken it out, made some hits, and I thought, nah, I can do better. I know I can get this truck to hook up because it was some icy air. And I was trying to get that truck to run a 1350. And I was heading out to the spot, and I just kind of cruising down the highway, and I get lit up. And the funny thing is, so I pull over, and it's middle of the night, and this where I was, I mean, the only thing that lights up the road out here are the stars in the sky. And so I pull over, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, seriously? And I was thinking, when did he get me? Like, at what point on this drive did he clock me? Because at one point, keep in mind, Stormy was tuned by me, so it ran really good, no speed limit or anything like that. I typically would roll that truck at between 85 and 100 miles an hour. And I was like, well, I mean, how long has he been after me? Anyway, the short little state troopers, give you an idea, it was funny. So he comes up on the passenger side of my truck, and it's just this disembodied head that pops over, and he looked like a garbage pail kid. So with a hat on, I'm like, what the fuck? So anyway, he had this really round head, and it just kind of comes into view with his hat. Anyway, I had to take defensive driving this past weekend to get that taken care of. But yeah, and then he goes, well, God dang it. He goes, well, I paced you. I go, yeah, how fast were you going? 87. It's like, that's it? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you said it was 87, so it's 87. Dodged a bullet. Tesla makes cars when they want to make cars, Vincent, they make them to specifically go fast. And when I bought my Hellcat, no, I was looking specifically for a Hellcat. I didn't really have the budget for a red eye, and I had already worked with and around red eyes, and I knew that there were some things about them that I didn't really want to deal with. It was earlier on in the tuning process for those cars, and some of the heat nannies hadn't quite been figured out yet. So, but a Hellcat was going to be plenty for me, so that's the route I went. Rome say, yeah, fast is fast enough when I can gap or outrun 93% of the cars on the road with me. Absolutely. I agree. Like saying, spot on take, B. Thank you, man. Vince is asking, am I planning on going to South Padre anytime soon? No. Although, fun fact, used to go to Padre a lot. And I ended up, buddy Brian wasn't always that let's just say I've met a lot of interesting and friendly people. And one of those interesting and friendly people was the cop that I had an interaction with in Padre. Ended up bumping into him later on, a little bit later on in life. It was about 2 years later. But the dude recognized me, remembered me because of my antics. And so, yeah, cool guy though. I didn't really get in trouble. I just kind of, I was, what's the best way to put it? I was reprimanded and directed to not return for the rest of the day to the beach that I was at. Something to do with me not wearing any clothes. Anyway, Vince say, did you ever watch the TV show Pimp My Ride? No. Zero, thanks. You're the man. Thank you very much. Oh, Skids, yeah, I agree. The fun factor over Speed Mole 85 Volvo 240 manual trans was a tank and an absolute ball to abuse on the daily many moons ago. Dude, let me tell you something. Those old Volvos were a lot of fun. The thing is I think a lot of people miss the fun of driving. When you get into trying to make something faster and faster and you're trying to climb some imaginary ladder on your way up the speed mountain or whatever you want to call it, people lose sight of the fun. And again, I've got to, for the guys that have gone through it, you are, I mean, your heads, I can feel the wind through the phone of you guys nodding your heads. It gets to a point, man, where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like this is fun. I'm not enjoying this. It's stressing me out. And then it's, it becomes a drag on you financially, emotionally. Something's not exactly right. You get obsessive over stuff, and it's like, guys, if you're not having fun, get rid of it. And if it's not fast enough, start learning how to have fun with it. And once you get to that stage, then the fastness of it doesn't matter. And again, guys, I've got a friend of mine, it's kind of a running joke, but I'm kind of the Zen master when it comes to like motorcycles and stuff like that. I've never met a motorcycle I didn't like. And they're all awesome to me. And they all haul ass. A moped to me hauls ass. And GSXR 1000s haul ass, just in a different way. It's a different sensation of speed. And that is the most important part of it. The sensation of speed, the subjective part, not the objective part of fast, not the part where you can measure it on a clock, but the part where you can measure it in your heart. That's the part that matters the most to me now. And picking apart the go fast side of something it can actually, I hate to say it, but sometimes it can start to get a little bit cringy. It's one of the reasons why I didn't want to get overly involved within the industry, dealing directly with customers and trying to work them through combinations. I love doing it, but you always would get somebody, I want all the sauce. I want the fastest of the sauce. I want my car so fast, we're going to put diarrhea on the license plate. And it's like, look, dude, everybody gets the same tune. Everybody gets the same treatment. There is no special sauce. Any more sauce and the thing melts down. You try to explain that to people. They don't want to hear it. And it's, well, so-and-so's car is faster and they've got this, that, or this. Like, yeah, this person's got so much time and effort into whatever suspension or trans tuning or weight reduction or whatever the case is. And you get into this back and forth and, it became a time suck. And it's like, damn, man, this isn't fun. Like I'm watching this person, I'm going, you're not having fun. And you're not getting paid. This is not your profession. It's not like the thing that you're doing is going to help you put food on the table or it's going to save your life or, it's just such a weird thing. So anyway, I was like, I'm going to go play in the shallow end where everybody's like fun and, they got sandwiches and juice boxes over there. Brent say, what's up? Complex, what's up, man? Rome. Thanks for all the advice, B. I want something that's quick on the street but still enjoyable and reliable. Yep, like my Scat. Perfect car for that. Good thing I can rewind this and listen again. Absolutely. Well, and so the question is about the Scat Pack. Here's the problem. Again, Dodge, man, your blessing is your curse. Scat Pack, lots of power, big car, heavy thing. But it's a great street car. But it doesn't live in a vacuum. I'll give you a perfect example of this. And this is something I'll be talking about a buddy of mine here pretty soon. If I were to put you, both cars being manual, in a 370Z, think about that car for a minute. Why would 370? Why would you say 370? Well, think about this for just a second. When I lived in Northern California, I had a 350Z, and I loved that car in that environment. In fact, I should have never sold that. I should have really done an LS3 swap on that car. But with the V6, that car made plenty of power, handled beautifully. And I could go up PCH and just absolutely rail that thing and have a riot, flat footing it, 120 miles an hour through the twisties. I was having a ball with that car. Well, the problem comes if I take you out of the 370 and put you in a Corvette. Okay, well, that's weird, right? Because now you got a lot more power. It's about the same weight, but now all of the fun starts getting sucked out of that car. You can't manhandle it the way that you can a 370. There's nothing really separating the two cars. But you can't manhandle like a vet like you could that 370. You can't flat foot it. It won't be as forgiving. And so is it still fun? Yeah, in its own right, I guess it is. And some people would say it has a better soundtrack. But the reality is that without the Corvette, you are as happy as a clam with the 370. And it's plenty fast. But then you try the Vet, and it's like, oh, well, it's got more power. And then the Vet, because it has more power, you can't go as fast because you've got too much torque, or your skill set isn't there to be able to play with it. You're carrying too much entry speed, or you're getting squirrely in the things at a handful on your exits. Until you get it figured out, now you got to have tires. Now tires become a thing. Oh my gosh, now I got to worry about tires more than I ever did before. Whereas before, you're blissfully ignorant, just blasting through. That's the difference for me. I'm just happy with what I get to play with. And if I get to play with something faster, then I make sure that my skill set understands, I'm working within a certain skill set, and that my understanding of that platform, I should say, is on point. But I know it's a weird analogy, but it's when you start talking about just how fast things are, it's all very relative, and there is no free lunch. And unless you just have won the lottery, and even then, you're still going to be frustrated by failure when things don't go exactly as planned, or you try to take something too far and it breaks a transmission, a motor, or a rear end, or whatever it is that you break. Well, that's racing. Well, try to explain that to somebody that's on a fixed budget that can't afford to fix it, and they're working on their daily driver that they need to rely on to get to work the next day. So just stuff to think about also when we're talking about mods. Brent, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. So, hey, been going back and forth with the guy on the 6.1 is 370 cubic inches. When I say it's 372 cubes, you look it up, say it's 370, others say 372. Thoughts on this one? It's 6.1 times 60.5, whatever that is. 372? I mean, it sounds 370. I mean, it's split the difference and call it 371. 6.1 times 60.5. Yeah, 369. So 370, I'd call it. Works for me. But that's, and if it's, 6.124, I mean, I guess you can really start nitpicking it, but yeah, it's around 370 cubic inches. And keep in mind, there's always tolerance variance. So, not two 6.1s are identical anyway. Skids, it's a 6.1. Everybody wins. But thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, Brent. Max saying, how does the low end grunt feel in your F-150 compared to the 570 and the Ram? It's a completely different truck, man. The Ford feels like it's got a big block in it down low compared to the 5.7. And I would love to just hand you the keys, tell you, put it in sport mode, take it for a spin. You hang this thing at about half throttle. And keep in mind, this is me coming from Buffy, which I don't understand. Buffy the Magic Mopar. That truck still feels fast as hell. And I don't know why that is. It's objectively not, but it always, for whatever reason, always feels snappy. But if you were to drive the Ford, it's like between 3,000 and 4,500 RPM, tip in about half throttle. It feels like the thing's got another 100 cubic inches. It really does. And it sounds like it. I mean, it's got a grumble and a growl that you just kind of wish the Hemi would have something like that. It is a completely different thing. Yeah, Vince. Yeah, I remember the story about my granddad drinking beer and you being with him, leaving cops in the dust. That was on oil-filled roads. That was in an 84 Dodge D100, or was it a 150? D100 is a 6-cylinder truck. And we got in trouble on multiple occasions. And he would grab a 6-pack of Miller Lite and his thing is control the skid. So my granddad raced stock cars before there was ever a NASCAR. It was stock cars. And they ran on dirt ovals and some asphalt tracks. But ran Dodges and Fords. That was his thing. And then he got into Chevrolets for a little bit. One of the Model A's, which is a Ford, was it a Model A? Anyway, it was a Model A with a Blue Flame 136. And that was one of the race cars that he was running. But later on, he was running a little bit more heavy artillery. But his whole thing was control the skid. You got to. So we would take this old truck out to these oil-filled roads, and I got started about 10, 11, 12 years old. We were already getting in, they caught, well, granddad knew some of the cops, but yeah, we would get the thing out oil-filled road, and we'd be sliding around out there only to find, we'd have some blues behind us, and they'd come up and, they'd see us, and granddad would get a pretty healthy scolding both from the cop and when we got home. But he's like, I'm not drinking. He's got to learn. Making the road safer for you, officer. These boys going to be riding around soon enough. Oh, my God, dude. You do well to learn from me. The shit that he would say. And I got to a point where, at first you're scared to death, right? Oh, shit, the cops. Don't worry about it. God, I miss. Oh, and it was recently his birthday too. It would have been his 100th birthday if he was still with us. So yeah, I miss him. Black Star says why I love my Civic Si. It's a fun daily driver, regardless of the lackluster speed. Exactly, man. They're fun. Motor City, what up? How you doing, man? Oh, Sovereign, the Holden SS, cool cars. The Chevy SS. There are, so back in that whole platform, that it looked like so there was the SS was there was also the cop car version of that, which oddly enough was only available to municipalities. Very badass car. But at a point in time, when the Holden thing was big and they were bringing those cars over, the Aussies would swap with the Pontiac guys' body panels because we wanted the Holdens and they wanted the Pontiacs. And again, Brent, thank you, buddy. Everyone wins. Brent, yeah, good point. Hemis are fun. I enjoy them. Motors, I had a Mark V Jetta i5, very fun car. Could take curved freeway on ramps at 65 to 70. They were a lot of fun. Sovereign's hanging out with skids. Oh, got a chance to play around with the Jetta. Very nice. Oh, Stuart said, how I got turned into a Challenger is my mom had a rental car. They didn't have the economy, so they gave her a Challenger. Was the choice. Oh, nice. Very nice. Skid say I'm streaming this evening and getting some honeydews completed. Very cool. So say I think Dodge should have offered the 6-cylinder Challies with manual transmissions. Real talk on that. With 300 horsepower, would have made for a blast tearing up some back roads. Man, yeah, it would have. Still don't know why they didn't. That would have been a neat car too. Like saying, new so-called 2025 Charger ain't even a Charger. It's just an Intrepid by the sky. Listen, good eye on that. There are a lot of people that are calling it the new Intrepid. You'll hear it's Intrepid type stuff. Guys, that is, if you're not familiar with the old Intrepids, check them out. But yeah, it's eerily like an Intrepid, the way that it looks from the side. Haven't seen the MagnaFlow tour. I did use MagnaFlow for the exhaust on my truck though. Skids is checking in, same, yep. Beefy just bought some Maggies for the boat. Nice. Oh, the SS. No, not the Holden. So there was the GTO and the G8. Was it the G8? Shit, I start to get the older cars mixed up, but it was definitely the GTO and the Holden Monero were the same car. And then there were some, yeah, what would be the G8? There were some other, the SS was a later iteration. Really neat car. It was, and what sucks, it was also a Holden. What sucks the most about the SS is that it was never advertised. It never got any play whatsoever. And it was a real shame because it was like all they were doing was fulfilling the contractual agreement with Holden. Sounded healthy, to bring cars over to the States. But it was a neat car. And again, Chevrolet had their own other version of that car as cop cars. It was really cool. Yeah, Sovereign, send him the link. Oh, Brent, yeah, Dodge missed the boat bad on all their new car designs. One of the issues that I have is, and I've said this a lot, and I guess it could bear repeating, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Dodge needs to stop dragging nostalgia from the 60s into the modern era. It's just not appropriate anymore. And it's, I don't like using the term again, but it's just cringeworthy. And, the youth of today, the guys that are in their 20s, their early to mid 30s, early 40s in some cases, 50s, 60s. Anyway, the youth of today, or at least those that don't have heartstrings to be pulled from 1968, which is, for the vast majority of the people that are even considering that car decades in some cases before they were even born, the styling cues are lost on them. They don't look attractive to a modern eye. It just because you don't have anything to really anchor it to. And if you do have something to anchor it to, then it's even worse because it's like you're trying too hard. Ooh, notice the subtle innuendo of Charger circa not just shut up. The car needs to have, how do I put it? The car needs to have its own identity. It needs to have its own opportunity to be an icon in its own way. And I mean, you can be the son of the son of the son of the king, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to be that Charger. You're not going to be that bullet Charger, so to speak. You're never going to get there. You need to stand on your own, and that they're just not giving the car the opportunity to do that. I'd like to see them try, but with the styling cues that we're already seeing, they're not going to give it a go, which is a shame. Let's see. Oh, the Chevy is a better all-around performer than the Chargers. Yeah, great car. What was it? It was LS3 powered too, wasn't it? If I remember correctly. And you could get one with a 6-speed. So there is that. Sly's asking, if I put long tubes on a 2014 5.7 Charger, do I still need to do the X or H pipe? Yes. Well, so there are kits that will allow you to work with the stock exhaust, which if you've got a later Scat, or a later 5.7, you've got the Scat exhaust, which is really good on those cars. I would suggest a full exhaust though, if you're going to, I know it's a budget breaker, but if you're going to go that route, go full exhaust. I wholeheartedly recommend MagnaFlow or Borla if you do. Yeah, Sovereign was on his way to the car wash. Yep. Lime saying, the way you talk about your granddad, I miss him and I never met the guy. Cool dude. Cool dude. So in the Navy, he was a Golden Gloves boxer, and he was a smaller guy. And one of the funny things about him was he took no shit off of anybody. And it was funny so we're at the VFW, and so this is usually how bad stories start off. He would bring me with him, and we would go to the VFW, and they had hamburgers and beer. And so we would go to the VFW, and I'd eat a burger, and he'd drink a couple of beers, and he had some buddy of his, I don't know, one of the other veterans that were up there. And I don't know what happened. I think they were playing pool. Granddad was a big pool player too. And something happened and something pissed off. My granddad did something that pissed off the guy that he was playing with. Anyway, damn near turned the place into the wild card wild bunch, dude. The two guys are, so I'm sitting at the bar. Again, I'm probably all of 11 years old. There's dudes like at the end of the bar playing cards or doing something like that. They're bullshitting, jukebox is playing. Here's my granddad. I will fuck you up. Get your ass outside. And I mean, he's just like Cotton from King of the Hill, right? And like, what the fuck just happened? Anyway, I come to find out that the two guys were good friends and they were just freaking messing with each other, but it freaked me out, and the other people didn't know that they were playing. So anyway, he was a prankster. He was a real funny guy, but he legit would. So in that truck, there's another granddad story for you. So we were on the way to a place called Union Cycle Salvage. Union Cycle Salvage in Houston, Texas was a motorcycle salvage yard that you needed to make sure you were up on your tetanus shots and everything else walking through this place. We were on the way there because I wanted to build a bike. I wanted to like take a motorcycle that was just trash and build something. So he's like, all right, let's go see what we can find. And on this day, I don't remember what we did at Union Cycle Salvage. There's another funny story about that place too, because we went there a few times. That story has to do with him. Where was he trying to get what the hell was he doing? Anyway, I remember he was swinging a hand, trying to get an axle out of something or whatever, and he hits his hand, breaks his hand. Shit was swollen. Terrible. God damn. Gonna need a lot of beer to fix this. Anyway, his hand swollen. It's like some parents, grandparents, whatever. You stub your toe. You need an aspirin, honey. Like you know how you need a beer. I mean that you broke my finger. Need a beer? Yeah, I kind of do. We're gonna have to hold it with your other hand. But here, it was just. So anyway, sorry, lose it. So somebody cut him off. In that truck, I mean, it was an old beat up Dodge. And anyway, he's hanging out the window of this truck. Up it, motherfucker, up it. And he's up it, up it. Anyway, Granddad was funny. Great guy, though. I mean, extremely generous. One of the best human beings you could ever hope to know. But was a very unique individual in his own right. Miss that guy every day. Brent, thank you again, man. So you are 100% right. Should have came up with all new names, something that was lighter and even faster than the EV junk out there. Not an EV guy at all. My thing is this with the EVs, man. Don't try to shove it down our throat. If you're going to tell us about this new EV, tell us about this new cool city car. Like, why is it cool, man? Listen, you can plug this thing in at night. It'll get you 300 miles of range. It's not that fast, but it'll get you where you need to be. It'll go 90 miles an hour, no problem. You can keep up with traffic, but it's a great commuter thing that if you want to charge it at home, you can, and it's safe. It's not a huge battery. You can charge it off a 110, whatever. The chase for the glory of EV superstardom it's not landing well with a lot of people for a multitude of reasons, but it's just not, you're not seeing it land the way that you would hope. If you're into EVs, a lot of people like them. A lot of people find them convenient, but they've got the air about them, like that air about the EV stigma. And it's a shame because it's not the car's fault. It's just a conveyance. But there are better ways and better cars to bring to market, mind you. I'm not even hating on the fact that Dodge is making EVs. EVs, great, whatever. But man, don't try to tart this up as it's e-muscle. Oh my God. The propaganda machine is in full swing if that's something that you're really trying to sell. At least Tesla sells you a car. They go, yeah, it's electric. And if you want one that hauls ass, we got that one. And if you want one that hauls even more ass, we got that one. But if you just want an electric car, we got these over here. Take your pick. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, but I get it. And it's just the idea. You just keep getting this stuff crammed down your throat. It's like, sorry, but I can't afford your virtue, I guess. See, so when it comes to breakout, fight about it. We come say, it's got to come to blows. Who's doing the blowing first? That's pretty funny. I like it. Oh, Sovereign's hanging out with Skids. Yeah, that video is pretty cool car. So yeah, sometimes it's more fun to be within a framework. No, it is to me a lot more fun to be within a framework. And when you're within a certain framework, incremental gains become much more rewarding. And it's again why I got so into seeing how fast I can make a stock boost Hellcat run on 93 octane with like parts bin parts. It was kind of neat to be able to put that together. So I enjoyed it a lot, but again, and that kind of build is never going to get any real exposure. I mean, what people want to see, man, you don't want to, people like stories about extremes. The stuff that is more mundane is just, you're never going to see anybody gravitate towards that. But I enjoyed it, and I've set some numbers, and Tim Mopar up in Canada has set some numbers that people will be chasing for as long as there are Hellcats. People will be scratching their heads trying to figure out what we did, but you know what? I still have Revlon's tune. So if I ever wanted to do it again, and I would know how to do it just a little bit better too. Oh, Jordan, A.B. Mason, longtime listener, first time catching a live stream. Very cool. Happy to have you, man. Thank you. Your example of 350Z flat out versus Corvette explains why I love my 3 valve so much. Can use all the power all the time on the daily. Absolutely. Agree 100%. Oh, Dodge and Ram both. Mr. Tim and company need to realize that they need to reach folks beyond the brohood of muscles. Get kick-ass commuter out there. The Hornet is a great case in point. Yeah, don't try, just sell the Hornet as a commuter car. Don't try to tart it up, and make sure that it's not a piece of crap when it hits the bricks too. And the other thing is, what is wrong with having a V8 in the truck lineup? The car thing too. Again, this is where, look, I am not a V8 honk. Make no mistake about it, even though you would be right to call me a liar, or at least wrong, or a hypocrite with what I just bought and for the reasons why I bought it. Anyway, but I'm not a power plant purist. I love inline six turbos. They're great. But why not? Where the hell is that 5.5 liter 4-cam engine that we were told we were supposed to get in 2019? That's something that even Steve Mignante had talked about that at one point, where not necessarily a specific displacement, but Mopar is developing a new V8, and this is all coming. Where the hell is it? My understanding it was either 5.2 or 5.5 liter, in essence, Mopar Coyote. And if it's done right, it's really good. I will be the first to tell you that the 5 liter, the 4th gen in my Ram, what the fuck? In my F-150 is on a different plane of existence when it comes to performance versus the 5.7 stock for stock. And it has a power output profile very similar to a turbo 6-cylinder, where it is extremely torquey down low, and it partial throttle application. It's what you can do when you have for practical purposes an infinitely variable cam profile. It's good stuff. But where I get a bit, like, if you want the sound, if you want the atmospheric engine, so to speak, if you want that power delivery, there's already the archetype for that, and that is the Coyote, and it's really good now. Not that it wasn't good as a Gen 3, but the Gen 4, whatever they did differently with it, my truck does not run the way that I remember the truck that I test drove before running. So you can make a V8 get great gas mileage. You can make a V8, obviously they sound good, but you can make it have great power everywhere. Not just at the top or mid-range or just in certain areas, but if you have the right technology, you can do it. And the Coyote is proof of that. And it pains me that Dodge didn't do something for the guys that really do want a V8 to make it work. Because look, Ford has a V8 and they've got a Turbo 6. Actually, they've got a couple of Turbo 6s. What's so wrong with that? Chevy still has a V8, but they've got that weird 4-cylinder. But now Dodge is not going to have a V8 unless you get a 3/4 ton. I don't know what they're going to do about that. And, the other manufacturer, Toyota, for the full size, they don't have anything but Turbo 6s, so no V8 there. So it really leaves Chevrolet and Ford with the only V8s now. And that's weird. That's weird when you consider the company that markets themselves specifically on a type of engine. Like, if it weren't for the Hemi, what the hell would you call a Dodge? Like, what would be the marketing marching order if it's not hanging on Hemi or, Hemi Life, Brotherhood Muscle and all this other. What are they going to call it? Like, Brotherhood of Snails? Cephalopods unite, or whatever it is. I don't get it. Cephalopod would be an octopus. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The whole idea is that, what do you do with this brand identity that you used to have? And that's really where the Mopar and the V8 and the America, and we build big cars for big people and all. it's all going away. And I'm afraid that the corporate identity, or at least the brand, not the corporate, but the brand identity, I'm curious as to how they're going to reposition themselves. That's kind of it. And guys, I got to wrap it up here pretty soon. We are running a little over an hour, and I have got to get back to it. Yeah, Skid should say, yeah, we're gonna make you a nice little SUV. It's gonna be fun. And don't market as, probe me with your Stinger or whatever it is. Have a couple at a, they're going to the florist, or they're going to the nursery, they're getting plants or something, or they're going to get groceries, and it's, yeah, Timmy and Sally, and they're playing with the dog, and it's this cute, fun little play with the dog car, and it's a fun, happy thing, and you can animate it with a tongue, and it's wagging its ass or something. This stuff writes itself, guys. I am not a marketing genius, but I seem like one by comparison here. Like, this is how you market a fun family car. Something you can rely on, something that's durable. It's zippy, it's easy to park, and something like that. That's how you market a car like that. Not this, how do you muscle up? Dude, you can't muscle up this thing. It doesn't work like that. It just didn't land at all, when it could have been something completely family friendly or inner city friendly, and they could have jumped on, whichever, bandwagon they wanted to with that. Read into that one however you want, but you could have had that type of thing, and it could have been even better because it could have been, city focused. It could have been lifestyle focused. And then you've got family focused. It could have been so much better than the overly produced bullshit, cringy drama that we got temporarily force fed. And then, thank our lucky stars that we're not getting, that stuff crammed down our throat anymore. Let's see. Motor City saying it should have been a 2-liter i4, a 3.0 i6, and a 4-liter V8 based Hurricane. Man, I tell you what, I would have liked to have seen. And I'd said this a long time ago. I did not like the idea of a 3.0. I didn't. I just did not like it. Not enough cubic inches, way too much boost to achieve the type of power numbers. You could have gone direct injection with a 4-liter inline 6 if that's the way you wanted to do it, or a small V8 with a turbocharger or a pair of turbos, which can get a little bit complicated, just because the 6 is less expensive. It's 1-cylinder head, 1 set of camshafts, stuff like that. So keep the displacement, turbo it, but bump it up to 4 liters like the Barra is. And, direct injection, 10-to-1 compression with, 18 pounds of boost, 19 pounds of boost. That's all you would need. And you could, the other thing, make it freaking E85 compatible. In this world that we live in, how the fuck do you have an engine like that with that level of specific output that doesn't have E85 compatibility? Help me to understand. Help me make that make sense in my pea brain that I have. How do I accept that? Anyway, I'm having a hard time accepting that there's not more of that going around. Oh yeah, you're right. Ford does have, I'm thinking about the trucks, but yeah, I'm sure Ford's there's plenty of those EcoBoost motors, I'm sure, to go around. But yeah, you're right. They have a Bronco in there too. They got all kinds of turbo stuff. Car Wash is in. Hey, B, how do? Doing good. Snow here in Erie, Pennsylvania. Happy first day of spring. Nice. Better say a 4-liter V8 with twin turbo hybrid would make perfect sense. BMW is doing it with a 4.4 liter, and it runs really good. So, but again, it's development cost versus production cost. But Ford's making Ford makes a Brazilian Coyotes a year. It can't be that damn expensive. Like you can say, well, it would be more expensive if we, but then you look at Ford and they're like, well, that's all we build are 4-cam V engines with turbos. And we do a 4-cam V engine that's an 8-cylinder. You cannot keep using this cost of development argument, and it costs too much to make a turbo V8. Ford, everything they make is a 4-cam engine. Everything, except for the Barra in Australia, which is, well, they're all twin cam per head. But again, you get the idea. You see where I'm coming from with this. That's why I just go, yeah, I'm not really buying that argument anymore. Not by today's standard. That's somebody not wanting to invest. And that is, when you look at Ford, how they invest and reinvest versus what Stellantis has done, it becomes extremely conspicuous what they're up to with that. But guys, with that, I do have to wrap it up. So listen, guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. Brent, appreciate all the support, my man. But with that, guys, I do got to wrap it up. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Here we go.